Hi everyone, welcome to Radio Hawke's Bay. My voice is warming itself up. This is Life Coaching with Gaeil, and a lot of you have been going through some pretty heavy stuff, pretty life-changing stuff, pretty chaotic stuff. If you actually haven't been going through those things in the last couple of months particularly, then it's possible that things will start shifting around in the next couple of months for you. We have had the lunar eclipse and we have had the solar eclipse, and we know the moon affects the tides and that people can go a little bit weird around a full moon. So an eclipse has a similar effect on us. We just haven't really been taught enough about how it affects us emotionally, mentally, physically, and at a soul spiritual level. And yet it does. So we have all of these factors and all of these components to us, and everybody does. Everybody is the same, and every one of you and everyone on the planet is actually affected in some way by the environment, by where the stars are, by what the moon is doing. And we just go around day to day and do what we do. And sometimes, we only notice when we have periods where it's like, why is this not working? Why are accidents more frequent? Why am I mucking things up in my life when I could do them seamlessly a week or two ago? And we might question ourselves in that moment. We might just go, well, this is odd, this is weird, so why? And these are points of time when we do actually stop and reflect a little bit on what might be going on. Do you look further into it though, or do you just go, it'll pass? And it's good to just go with the flow, not stress about it. If you're stressing about the fact that people are perhaps not hearing what you're saying, or you're not being able to communicate as clearly as you would like, that everything you touch falls apart or messes up or just seems a lot harder than normal. If that's happening for you, it's to give you that time to reflect. And I just want you to know it's actually normal that around times of big events in the sky, and we've had two very close together, the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, as I said, that your life itself and the dynamics in your life will alter and change and move around. So what do you do with that? So we've had a lot. This year is the year of karma. Okay, so karma is what you put out there will come back to you, generally more than what you put out there. So it could be said, okay, so if you've been kind, then kindness will come back to you tenfold. If you've been horrible to somebody or intentionally done some harm to another person, then karma will turn around and repay you. And we can always make up for the things that we have done to someone else or thought about someone else. And remembering, thought is very powerful, people. What you think becomes. What you think about another person affects that other person in their life and their daily life. They might not know, they might not be aware, but they will experience things on an inner level, or even when they're trying to approach something, deal with something, do some kind of project, or just be feeling good in themselves. It can affect all of that. So it can affect you when other people are thinking badly of you or just not appreciating you and who you are. And just all of that affects you. And this year, absolutely, this year in particular, this year is the year of justice. This is where the scales get weighed. So justice is often depicted with a picture of somebody with a set of scales, and we have that on our courts and things. That's the scales that they must balance. So our justice system does its best to balance wrongs, to help balance inaccuracies and sorry, I get lost for words sometimes. It's just how it goes. But justice is about fairness, okay? And, you know, my parents' generation said life is not fair. Every time something happened, well, life is not fair. That's just life. And it kind of is, if you believe that. And we grow up believing that life is not fair. And it does seem to be, when you look around the world at the people who are affected by war or hunger that have had no input personally themselves into starving or being a victim, that they are caught up in all of this. And that is an injustice, that is an unfairness, and it is can be on in unprecedented ways and on a huge scale. So what's that about? There are some very brave souls on this planet, and those souls have come in to be teachers. They have come in to be part of an experience where they send a very strong message to the world, to humanity, about fairness and justice. And people in all of those countries where there is fighting, their message gets out. Their message of the injustice is felt, seen, heard all around the world if you have ears to hear it. And when that happens, everyone gets some sort of inner message or sense of compassion for them, of the injustices that are happening, and from that, people start to take action. We all have a conscience. We cannot escape our conscience. And it's very few people on the planet that don't have a connection with their conscience. If something is close enough to home, if it resonates with you, you will have a conscience that tells you what is right, what could be done, what needs to be done. And the most disempowering thing sometimes is when we look at it and we think, what can I do? I'm powerless in this situation. All I'd say there is, alone we have a certain amount of power. And there are people in the world who have stood up singularly on their own and made a statement, that have gathered around them people who support what they say. Like women's rights is the first thing that comes to me. Women's rights. One person stands up and said, women deserve rights. People join. People agree. More people join, more people agree. Things change. It can take a long time. But if there is anything that you feel needs to be done, form a group, form a collective, form some sort of voice. So talking about voices, like just at the moment we've got Mercury in retrograde. That means it's going backwards. Mercury is about communication, is about getting our message across. It is about being heard. So if you are having misunderstandings with your partner or your co-workers, if you're not able to say things as clearly or articulately as you would like, that will end of April, roundabout. I haven't got the exact dates on me. But May brings in a better time for communication. And you know, that's what I'll say. So since we had the solar eclipse on the 8th, I think it was, so as again, I don't know why I'm talking about this because I hadn't planned it, but since the solar eclipse, we had a shift with the lunar, but we've had a bigger shift and a more positive shift with the solar eclipse. But it does mean there will be disruptions perhaps, there will be upheavals, there still will be a resetting going on. So we're talking about a few weeks here before things actually start to get back to a kind of a new kind of normal. For those of you who have had huge changes and huge shifts, and these would have created huge changes and huge shifts within yourself, within the way that you think, within the way that you look at yourself. And it was all about getting you to look at you as being of value, of being important, evaluating what you need that nurtures you. Who are you? What is your thing? What do you do? So mine is that I talk, okay? And even though I don't do it well, I have things to say, and so therefore that's my thing. And it doesn't matter to me whether anybody listens or not. It's simply, I need to say some of these things to you. They may actually resonate with you at this time or when you watch this, but they need to be shared sometimes. Very little in my lifetime was there any room or any conversations that were really meaningful around your essence, your value, your uniqueness, what made you you, the good parts or the ugly parts or the strong parts or the weak parts, or even helping you to identify what your strong points were, what gifts, what abilities you had. None of that was really encouraged. And I might have just been in a place where that didn't happen. However, I know, because I never had that, how absolutely essential I found it for myself, that I find out about all those aspects of who I was, who I am, what I do, what I don't do. And you know what? I reckon it's a lifetime. It's a whole lifetime seeking, searching, learning, understanding yourself, understanding who you are, what you're capable of, and then allowing yourself to be able to do it is really enormous, because I personally have been one of those people who have chosen to be in the shadows, not as far as away from the light, always in the light, but hidden from people, from difficulties, from humans that would try to trip me up or stand in my way or discourage me, because I had that most of my life, and it always stopped me. It stopped me from doing what I could do. And you know the wonderful thing about age? You just don't care anymore. There's something about a certain age that you reach, and that you just allow yourself to be yourself. And everyone can have an opinion, and you must have your opinion. Everyone needs to be able to assess and decide what works for them and what doesn't, what person resonates with them and who doesn't. You know, I had this misbelief when I was a child. I can remember thinking about Jesus, and Jesus, he was just such an extraordinary human being, and yet he had his haters. Seriously? The man performed miracles. The man healed the sick. The man was an icon amongst everyone else. I could not understand as a child how he could still have haters. And I started to think about an unrealistic aspect of there must be some way that someone can have everybody love them, everybody agree with them. And I really wanted to believe that, because unrealistic, as I said. Realise as you get older that it's actually not possible, because everyone is so different, and you are entitled, absolutely entitled, to your opinion, your belief, whatever it is that helps you get up in the morning, whatever it is that helps motivate you, as long as it does not hurt or harm another human being. That is the boundary line. So believe everything that you choose to, that makes you strong, that helps you get by in life, and choose to do it without putting someone down or being too critical. And criticism actually has a place, because if we criticise someone else, we're showing ourselves what we could introduce. But if you're criticising to kind of really be nasty to that person, beware of that karma that you attract. What goes around comes around. It's like cause and effect. It is simply be more self-aware. You know, this time that we're in this year, and all these changes that you will be going through if you're not now. We have been since COVID, actually, going through these changes, and then the cyclone in this area, Hawke's Bay. It is to, again, help you to go inward and assess yourself, actually. We are not here to waste time anymore. We don't have the luxury of time that our previous predecessors, ancestors had. We are here right now, and you are one of those, because you have an important reason, an important purpose to be here. Yes, you do. Doesn't matter who you are an important cog in the wheel. Without you, it won't work well, and we need it to work well. We need it to work well because the earth is in trouble. People are in trouble. Your friends are in trouble. Your neighbours, relationships. There's a big thing going on with all kinds of relationships at present. These are your closest relationships. Nurture also, though, the relationship of the person behind the counter. They are there. They have their own troubles as well. They are there to present to you the face of a person who is there just to serve you. But they're a person. So they have a lot more to them going on as well. A little bit more compassion is all we need to do. And there's been this big message, and I'm going to share it with you. Because we've been going through some kind of pretty massive stuff in some cases, okay? pretty life-changing stuff that's very hard to kind of look at or fathom or see what's coming next. We have to look at being kinder, being more compassionate, and more loving. So this message is, try not to react on your emotion. So they're not saying don't feel emotion. They're saying don't let the feeling of emotion create an action or words. There's a guarantee. The guarantee is, if you speak with emotion, unless it comes from a very pure part of yourself, if you speak with emotion in the moment, it is likely to come out in a way that you later on will not be proud of. And we always need to feel proud of ourselves. We do. We always get faced with it if we are not proud of what we've done or said. Emotion makes us react. So next time you feel like throwing something across the room or saying something as a comeback in defense of yourself, take a breath. It's always the most powerful thing we can do. Take a breath. Like, seriously, it keeps you alive. That's how important it is. But if you take a breath, and you sometimes have to walk away, and sometimes you have to go away, and you've got to think about it, process it. Please, I invite you, go talk about it out loud to yourself in the car or somewhere where nobody else is, and say whatever that emotion is that you would have said in the moment. Allow the emotion to die down, and then kind of come back after that. Because I guarantee you, if you do that, you will not say the same things in the same way. You will not have the same action. And that you will feel proud of. So instead of emotion, at this time, particularly this year, bring it back to, okay, who am I? I am someone who cares about people. I'm someone who wants to help people. I'm someone who wants to be of value, of service, of use, to help in some way. And when you come back to that part of you, guess what comes out? You. And you know that you are the expression of love. And if you come back to you, say something nice, say something or say nothing. My parents always said, if you've got nothing good to say, say nothing at all. All of these very valuable old sayings helped me through life. And it's quite powerful to say nothing, unless you do have something to say. And definitely, now that Mercury is in retrograde, people, this is actually a useful statement. If you have nothing useful to say, best to say nothing at present. It avoids creating chaos in your life. It avoids creating anxiety and problems and aggression from other people. People are struggling. So I don't know if you noticed, but ever since, I think it's since the beginning of the year, it may have been since Christmas last year, people were doing mean things to people. Actually being quite attacking is the word. You may have experienced someone attacking you. It is because that person and those people were struggling with their own lives. They just weren't coping at all. They weren't coping with what they were doing, whether it was their work or whether it was the dynamics of their family or the changes they were going through them, because these changes, like I said, started from COVID. The whole world, and then every individual on the planet has been going through processes. These are what are called learning processes that are very, very important to go through, and we all must go through them. Any hardship that you have had in your life, look at it as an opportunity to change something, to do something in a different way. Focus on that. Avoid looking into the future when there is nothing there. If your life has changed to the extent where everything you had planned is no longer lined up and there's just an empty space, then please avoid looking at the empty space. Stay in the now. We talked about this last session a little bit. Stay in the now, do the ordinary, do the normal, do the natural. It's a little bit like, yes, it's okay to be a little bit avoiding. If you can't face the void, and you must not go near the void, it is not healthy. It will suck you in. You simply need to then distract yourself and do the normal. So we are going to be back in a very quick moment with the second part of the session.